So we all know how hard it can be to improve at League. There is tons of information out there. Thousands of guides telling you what to do in what scenarios, explaining difficult concepts, sometimes without even explaining why something works. But what I've noticed is that despite so many videos being out there, they all have one thing in common. They focus on telling you what to do in game, and almost none focus on helping you understand the process of improving, or why you should learn certain things without explaining the benefits or approach. And since there's so much bullshit out there, I'm just gonna give you 3 tips that really make the difference. Stuff that not only helps you get better at the game, but helps you understand why you're getting better. So let's start off with the first one, the rule of 1 rule 3 champions. If you ever looked for any advice, you've probably come across it one way or another. There is one problem. People tell you to do it without any explanation on why, and you are just either ignoring it, or you are stuck mindlessly playing same champions over and over with barely any improvement visible. The way this rule works is, you play between 1 and 3 champions, on a single role, to learn them in and out. You learn their matchups, trade patterns, itemization, all that stuff. That's actually a process of improvement in itself, but there is a second part to it that nobody talks about. Because once you learn those champions, you play them without thinking, without worrying what you are gonna do, because you will know their limits by now. And that's when the real progress begins. You see, because you learned a champion, you don't have to think about what to do on them. And since League is an extremely complex game with infinite amount of variables, we reduce the amount of things we have to think about by tons. Even as Zap in his recent video talked about the amount of possibilities if each player had a pool of 10 champions to choose from, which despite it being heavily undercalculated, it was still 90 matchups for a person to learn, not counting bot lane that is. So if we take the same concept and apply it to our rule, person who plays only 3 champions would have 70% less things to learn by default. And with that, you can push your learning into other areas of the game. You can, for example, get much better at team fighting, positioning, how your champions close the game, or even wave management. And to show how important it is, let's imagine a matchup where both sides know how to play it. One person plays only 2 champions, and the other one picks whatever they feel like. Assuming that the second person played enough games to know the matchup very well, both players are on the same level. The difference? First person knows shit ton about wave management just because they know what their champion limits are, so they could focus on learning that. And completely fucks up the enemy, denying them tons of CS and putting them behind like crazy, and setting up free ganks for the jungler. Now I know it sounds extreme, but really, this shit happens even in Master ELO. So yeah, once you're not wasting brain cells on figuring out your champ every game, you can finally start learning actual game concepts, not just clicking buttons better, but thinking smarter. But if you actually do want to start clicking better to not get constantly gapped by some randoms, Skill Gap is here to help. Skill Gap is a free app that helps you improve your mechanics, without having to waste hours in ranks. It's like practice tool, but you don't need friends, and bots actually do help you improve, as it is specifically designed with that in mind. Linky in the description. And that brings me to the next part, because none of that matters if you're just running around with no plan. So let's talk about playing with a goal in mind. Sounds simple, but it's actually more difficult than you may think. Playing with goal in mind isn't just wanting to get fed and destroying enemy nexus. That's everyone's goal regardless. So what I mean is that you should really focus on all the small things you are doing. Ask yourself how I want to play the lane, how can I achieve it, how I'm going to trade with enemies, or even how do I play out team fight. The reason why you should do it, and have even the smallest goals in the back of your mind, is to help you avoid being lost in the game. And to prove it to you, I'll go over one of my recent games, where I won as a snowball champ purely by macro decisions, without getting any kills during the landing phase. I'll compare it to how the enemy ADC was playing so you can see the difference. For a reference, it was a Master ELO game. Now, my initial goal in mind for that game was to pressure enemy bot lane as much as I could. I knew we're not gonna beat Corki easily unless through poke. So what I did was just deny them any pressure and made sure I always had tempo. In short, I was still in control of the lane. Now my next goal in mind was to not die, so I made sure to play around enemy jungler and not overstay on lane. This one was simple, but for my last major goal in mind, I asked myself, how the fuck do I even win this game if I can't spam kill enemies for free? You see, with enough knowledge, I understood that our team comp simply had no chance in team fights. We would just lose. So I thought about other options. And since we had an assassin with high range mage on our team, and in general high burst damage, I knew that one of ways we can win is through getting picks. This way we could ensure advantage during the fights. But remember, it's still Master ELO, so it wasn't enough. Now if you aren't that high, you probably don't have to overthink it, but I still want to explain my thought process and the importance of it. So with all my knowledge, I realize we can win not only through getting picks, but also having Garen, Vigo, and Kalista on our team, we could also win through split push. And here is where fun begins. The best way to push is through grubs, so I ensured to enable my support for roams. Not only that, when the second grub spawned, I prepared wave beforehand to roam. I put pressure on enemy mid laner, delaying her moving to grubs. Because if she went there instantly, I could either fight her with my mid laner, or I could join the fight on grubs, putting my team at an advantage. She ended up having to recall and TP, giving my team enough time to take grubs and escape. Now I could go over 100 other little things I did in that game to increase our winning chances, but those are the main ones. And now let's get to what enemy Corki did. Long story short, he knew not to int lane and just wanted to scale, but apart from that he didn't have any solid plan in his head. So what happened? He was AFK farming on bot the entire laning phase, then randomly walking around the map, sometimes following his team without any reason. Like, look at this shit, he literally took no part in any team fight. And even if it could be a good decision in some games, this definitely was a very bad choice that ended up making the game a lot easier for us. For the last part, just stay realistic. Really, that's all. Just don't expect yourself to get to a challenger level within a week, because the mindset is what kills it all. That's a mistake many people make, and it only causes them to tilt more, because they don't get any instant signs that they are improving. Bitch, improving takes a long time, so just focus on your gameplay and you'll get there. Trust me, I've had days where I lost tons of games in a row, played like shit, and thought I was getting worse. But the next week, I was space gliding on everyone again, because no matter your rank, there is always something to learn. And it will take you weeks or even months to fully learn and understand new concepts. You should base your progress off of your entire journey. Think if you actually feel like you are performing better, because performing better doesn't always mean that you will instantly start winning. And the main thing it's supposed to help you with is staying focused and consistent. Because if you start getting inters left and right, instead of tilting, you will stay focused and know what you can achieve. That's all for today. Thanks, bye.